You've invested so much time, haven't you? Months, maybe even years, really, digging into self-improvement. You read the books, clicked through countless webinars, maybe meditated until your mind felt, well, kind of numb, right? Yet sometimes, maybe often, despite all that incredible effort, that real hunger for growth, you might still hit that wall, still find yourself battling those same old challenges, still watching some really ambitious goals just kind of gather dust, just out of reach. So here's a thought, maybe a provocative one. What if the real barrier isn't something you haven't learned yet? What if it's actually how your brain is currently wired? And if we don't consciously, deliberately, and correctly rewire it, all that relentless effort, all that burning ambition, it could, well, tragically miss its mark. I mean, if we're operating with old mental maps in a world that's changing so fast, accelerating at warp speed, we're not just falling behind. We might actually be sort of dimming our own future without realizing it. And look, this isn't about finding another quick productivity hack or just another fleeting burst of motivation.
No, this is about a really fundamental shift, a complete neural reset almost, that can truly transform who you are and unlock the success you've been working so hard for. Okay, so let's dive deep into this. Today, we're really embarking on a powerful exploration. We're looking at insights drawn from Ryan Holiday's, seminal work, The Obstacle is the Way, the timeless art of turning trials into triumph. And this isn't just going to be a summary, right? Think of it more like your personal transformation plan for navigating, say, 2025. A step-by-step guide to not just understanding these principles, but actively imprinting them, making them work so adversity actually becomes your greatest advantage.
Yeah, and what's incredibly relevant, I think, is just how urgent these ideas feel right now. I mean, think about it. We're in this age of massive AI disruption. There's this constant hum of creator burnout. The economy feels, well, increasingly volatile. Just thinking positive, quote unquote, it just isn't enough anymore, is it? You need a brain that's inherently resilient, endlessly adaptable, and wired for relentless smart progress. So by the end of this deep dive, you'll have a clearer idea of how to deliberately focus your attention, especially with all the constant distraction. How to truly master this art of turning trials into triumph, how to conquer that fear of visibility that honestly holds so many people back, and crucially, how to effectively build these success pathways in your brain, circuits that can propel you forward almost automatically, even when, the world seems determined to pull you back. Ultimately, this is about forging an identity that doesn't just kind of endure challenges, but actually thrives on them.
That sets the stage perfectly, and it brings us right to this really interesting, almost counterintuitive idea. What if, sometimes, our brains are almost wired to, stop us at the very first sign of friction? It's like hitting an internal brake pedal we didn't even know was there.
It's a really crucial insight, yeah. And it's one that Ryan Holiday captures so powerfully. He writes, "Our actions may be impeded, but there can be no impeding our intentions or dispositions because we can accommodate and adapt. The mind adapts and converts to its own purposes the obstacle to our acting. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Just think about that for a second. In our current digital age, right, where instant gratification is pretty much the norm, and every little setback feels amplified by the constant pressure, the AI race, the creator economy, our brains, often just looking for the path of least resistance, can interpret even the smallest bit of friction as a signal. And this leads straight to emotional reactivity. It short-circuits our ability to see obstacles as, profound opportunities.
Right. So how do we disengage that automatic brake then? How do we stop that sort of knee-jerk reaction that tells us to pull back the second things get hard?
Well, to really break that ingrained pattern, you need to cultivate something. Let's call it emotional sobriety. It's a disciplined, kind of clear-headed state where you can observe your immediate emotional reactions without letting them hijack you. So when a challenge pops up, the very first step is to just immediately pause, just stop. Instead of reacting instantly with frustration or maybe fear, you consciously ask yourself, okay, hold on, is this really stopping my ultimate intention? Or is it just getting in the way of my current plan of action? Yeah. We actually recommend something called the 3-breath rule. Just 3 deep, slow breaths before you respond or do anything. That simple act, it creates this crucial bit of space. Then you reframe. Ask, how can this specific obstacle be converted to my purpose? What unexpected advantage might be hiding here? A really powerful practice is to keep a reframing journal. Seriously, every day. Just list a few challenges you faced. And then brainstorm at least 3 distinct ways each one could actually be an advantage. Like, okay, project delay, that's not just a delay. It could be an unexpected chance to refine your whole strategy, maybe pick up a new skill, or even strengthen relationships with your team or clients.
It sounds simple when you say it like that, but I imagine that pause and reframe feels incredibly difficult in the heat of the moment. Can you give us maybe a real-world example, someone who really embodies this?
Oh, absolutely. Think about someone like Elon Musk. I mean, his ventures, right, from the early days, PayPal, then SpaceX, Tesla, they have consistently faced just monumental obstacles. Rocket explosions, production hell, near bankruptcy, intense public skepticism, you name it. Yet you rarely hear him frame these as failures in the way most people mean it. Instead, he consistently views them as necessary learning experiences, like rapid feedback loops that actually advance the mission. His brain doesn't seem addicted to a specific predetermined outcome. It seems profoundly wired for the iterative process of overcoming. He doesn't just adapt, he actively converts the obstacle.
That idea, converting the obstacle, it really primes us, doesn't it? It makes me think about proactively shaping what's next. What if you could, almost like remember your success before it even happens? I know it sounds a bit like something out of a sci-fi novel, but it seems like a really powerful tool for your brain.
It's not sci-fi at all, actually. It's a form of neural conditioning, and it's deeply rooted in cognitive science. Mental rehearsal. Think about it. In this rapidly evolving landscape, AI reshaping entire industries, the creator economy demanding constant innovation, a huge number of people feel paralyzed by all the uncertainty. It's understandable. But without something like mental rehearsal, you're basically walking into these high-stakes situations almost blindfolded. You're leaving way too much to chance, which inevitably leads to burnout and missed opportunities. So to actively build these future memories, you can implement a daily future pacing routine. Each morning, just dedicate maybe 10-15 minutes, vividly visualize your ideal day or week or even year. But here's the crucial part. Don't just imagine the success. Mentally rehearse the process of achieving it. That includes potential obstacles and how you will gracefully, effectively overcome them. So you actually envision having those difficult conversations, dealing with unexpected setbacks, maybe even moments of self-doubt. And then you see yourself navigating them with composure, with competence. This repeated simulation, it literally builds and strengthens neural pathways. It creates a kind of future memory, and that makes your brain feel more confident and your actions become more automatic when those situations actually pop up in reality.
Okay, so you're not just like wishing for success, you're actively building the mental muscle memory for it, like an athlete does, right?
Exactly like an athlete. Think of Olympians. Their training isn't only physical, far from it. They spend countless hours mentally rehearsing their performance, visualizing every single move, every possible challenge, and their perfect execution of it. And similarly, visionary leaders throughout history, military strategists, innovators like Steve Jobs, they were renowned for their foresight. They often anticipated market shifts years ahead because they had mentally walked through countless future scenarios. They weren't just guessing, they were mentally prepared.
That's a huge shift, isn't it? From just passive hoping to really active preparation. But even with that prep, in a world that's just constant notifications, pressure to make snap decisions, how do we make sure we're making the right, deliberate choices? Not just reacting impulsively. It feels like our brains are constantly being pulled in a million different directions.
Well, what's often overlooked, I think, is just how frequently we operate from that emotional reactive state. Driven by the, let's say, more primitive parts of our brain. Your frontal lobe, though, that's your CEO mode. Right. That's the part responsible for rational thought, strategic planning, impulse control, long-term decision-making, all the executive functions. But without consciously engaging it, you're essentially letting your primal instincts, your gut reactions, dictate your business and your life. And in our world, totally saturated with information where, immediate gratification and instant feedback loops rule, many people end up operating from this amygdala-driven state. Fight or flight, basically. And that leads to impulsive choices, a real lack of strategic foresight. So the ability to just pause, analyze, and make truly deliberate, high-level choices, that's arguably the most vital superpower you can have in an age dominated by knee-jerk reactions.
Okay, so how do we intentionally switch on that CEO mode when the pressure's really on? How do we pull ourselves out of that reactive state?
Right. Before any significant decision, try engaging in what we call a pre-decision protocol. It's a simple structure. First, the pause. Just physically stop what you're doing, take a few deep breaths. This helps disengage your emotional brain and create that vital space we talked about. Second, the data scan. Objectively list all the facts. What do we actually know? What are the potential risks? What are the real rewards? Actively try to avoid assumptions and emotional biases. Just the facts. Third, and this is crucial, the long-term view. Ask yourself honestly, what will be the impact of this decision in 6 months? What about in 1 year, in 5 years? This deliberate process, it trains your brain to function like a strategic leader, not just a panicked follower. It literally wires you for foresight, not just frustrating hindsight.
That's a really tangible process. And it makes me think of Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War. He was under just unimaginable pressure, yet his decisions often seemed incredibly measured.
Exactly right. Lincoln, for example, famously had that cabinet of rivals. He was known for his really meticulous, sometimes agonizing process, gathering all the facts, considering long-term consequences, often delaying critical decisions until his CEO mode, or his rational frontal lobe, had fully processed the situation. He wasn't just reacting to battlefield setbacks or emotional pleas. He was making deliberate, strategic choices that, well, defined a nation.
Okay, so moving on from that strategic decision-making, let's talk about action. Because, well, if waiting for perfection is a guaranteed trap, as you said, how do we confidently move forward, especially when things don't feel quite ready in our own eyes? That pressure to launch something flawless can be absolutely paralyzing.
Yeah, and this brings us right to another core principle from Holiday. Get moving, practice persistence, and iterate. The pragmatic truth, especially in this fast-paced, constantly shifting digital world, is that what's right is what works, not necessarily what looks perfect on paper. Waiting for that elusive state of perfection, it's basically a death sentence in today's economy. That fear of failure, or maybe just the desire for some unattainable ideal. It prevents countless brilliant ideas from ever even seeing the light of day. To really thrive, you need a brain that's wired for agile execution, for just consistent forward momentum.
So how do we apply this then? How do we actually overcome that internal resistance, that voice saying, it's not good enough yet?
You adopt the minimum viable action principle, or MVA. Identify the smallest but still impactful action you can take right now to move forward. Now, this isn't about being lazy, it's about strategic momentum, getting the ball rolling. It could be a really rough draft website, a slightly imperfect product prototype, maybe even just the first, most challenging paragraph of a crucial email. The goal is simply to get something out there, get feedback, learn rapidly, and then iterate. Make it better based on reality. You need to create a feedback loop ritual. Actively seek out constructive criticism and then immediately implement improvements. Don't just file it away. And embrace the mantra, done is better than perfect. Like, this isn't just some cute saying. It fundamentally helps rewire your identity from being a hesitant perfectionist to becoming a relentless executor. It enables your brain to learn from real-world data, not just from imaginary fears about what might go wrong.
I see it. Yeah, it's about getting out of the theory and into practice, even if that practice feels messy at first. Like those huge tech companies we see today, right?
Right.
They definitely didn't start out perfect.
Precisely. Think about the early days of Facebook. Zuckerberg launched a really basic version just to a small university, and then he iterated relentlessly based on actual user feedback. It was far, far from perfect initially. Similarly, modern agile methodologies in software development, they prioritize iterative development and rapid deployment over these lengthy, exhaustive planning phases, because the brain learns best through action and feedback, not through endless contemplation in a vacuum.
Okay, that brings us to what might the most challenging, but maybe also the most profoundly liberating concept of all. How do we find that deep acceptance, maybe even find joy when we're facing setbacks? Is it truly possible to, love everything that happens when it feels like the world is just throwing curveballs left and right?
This really gets to the heart of the Stoic principle, amor fati, which translates roughly to love of fate. And it's really important to understand this isn't just passive resignation. It's not just gritting your teeth and bearing it. No, it's an active, profound embrace. A love for everything that occurs, the good and the bad, because you understand that it's all necessary. It's all part of your growth, part of the tapestry of your life. Perseverance, viewed through this lens, isn't just about grit. It's the natural outcome of this deep, almost joyful acceptance. In an unpredictable world, like 2025 likely will be, so many people are constantly battling against reality, resisting setbacks, lamenting missed opportunities, and all that resistance, it creates immense internal friction. It drains your energy, hinders your adaptability, stifles innovation. Without this kind of deep, active acceptance, you're constantly fighting a losing battle against the inevitable flow of life. And that leads straight to chronic stress and burnout.
Wow. So it's about seeing adversity not just as some unfortunate detour, but as a vital component of the journey itself. How can someone even begin to truly practice that level of acceptance? It sounds, hard.
It is hard, but it's a practice. When something unexpected or frankly undesirable happens, instead of immediately slapping that bad or unlucky label on it, consciously try saying to yourself, okay, this is exactly what needed to happen. Just that phrase can start to reframe your emotional response. Then immediately follow up with, right, how can I use this? What opportunity does this present that I wouldn't have seen otherwise? Right. A really powerful exercise here is to keep an amor fati journal. Document the challenges you face. And then specifically write about how each one contributed to a positive outcome or a crucial lesson down the line, even if it takes time to see it. For example, a failed product launch. That isn't a disaster. It's invaluable data revealing what the market actually needs, maybe leading to a much stronger, more targeted iteration next time. This practice literally rewires your brain to seek the hidden gift within every setback.
That reframing is incredibly powerful. And I can't help but think of, well, maybe the ultimate example of this kind of mindset.
Indeed. Viktor Frankl, right. A Holocaust survivor. He embodied amor fati in the most profound, almost unimaginable way. Despite that immense suffering, he found meaning and purpose. He chose to embrace his fate as a catalyst for his groundbreaking work on logotherapy. He demonstrated that even in the absolute darkest circumstances, we still retain the freedom to choose our response. And you see it in the entrepreneurial world too. Countless founders face near bankruptcy, product failures, only to emerge stronger, more innovative, precisely because they cultivated this mindset. They didn't just endure setbacks, they learned to love them for the crucial lessons they provided.
So listen, you're not broken, you're not flawed, and you are certainly not stuck. You're simply maybe wired for yesterday's challenges. In this rapidly evolving landscape of 2025, the individuals who don't just survive, but who truly win, they're the ones who consciously, deliberately rewire their brains for the future. So stop just reacting to the world around you. Stop letting external circumstances dictate your internal state. Instead, start rehearsing your success. Start embracing every single obstacle as a hidden, invaluable opportunity. And start building a brain that instinctively works for the future, not one that's just reacting to the past. Because this isn't just about tweaking your mindset, is it? It's about fundamentally transforming your very identity. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't just overcome challenges, but actually thrives because of them. Remember, the obstacle isn't in your way, it is the way. And by truly embracing this timeless truth, you're not just building a business or chasing goals, you're building an unshakable self, ready for absolutely anything 2025 throws at you.
Yeah, and if this deep dive has sparked something new within you, maybe consider this final provocative thought. What if the biggest challenges you're facing right now, the ones that feel like absolutely impossible roadblocks, what if they aren't merely hindrances at all? What if they are precisely the unique pathways designed to reveal your deepest capabilities? Pathways meant to lead you directly to the very success you've been pursuing all along. We genuinely love to hear from you on this. What's maybe one old way of thinking you feel ready to shed this week? What old wiring are you committed to breaking as you move forward?